Well, good morning, Shirley. It's glad to have this time to spend together, and I was just going to ask you a few questions about your background. Can you tell me a little bit about like your family?
I was the third of 8 children. Um, I had an older brother and sister, and we were about 5. There was a 5-year gap between me and my younger siblings. So I was, for a while, the youngest of 3, and then the oldest of 6.
Wow. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Midwest in a little town called Marshall, Missouri.
Okay. What was that town like?
It was a sleepy little town, and it was safe and just sort of the Midwestern safe little place to grow up. It was great.
What did your parents do?
My mother was a homemaker, but my dad was sheriff of the county we grew up in, and I actually grew up in the county jail.
Wow, that's interesting. And your dad was sheriff. Was he also in the military?
No, he was an engineer on the railroad, and during the war he couldn't get a job, so he worked for the FBI, and that sparked his interest in law enforcement, and then he came back after the war.
So you say you were the third of 8 children. Are there certain siblings that you're very close to?
I'm very close to my youngest brother and 2 of my sisters that are younger than I am.
Did you take like a parental role in their lives, providing child care when they were growing up?
I did. I was 13 when my youngest sibling was born, and he was just like my baby.
Okay. And what was your social life in school? Were you like one of the popular people in school, or?
I was, I had a variety of interests, and I was in everything. I was a cheerleader. I was in every organization they had, and I had interests, a wide variety of interests. Yes.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Probably English. Yeah.
So you enjoyed reading more or writing more?
I enjoy both, but I particularly like writing.
Okay. Did you make good grades in school?
I was probably a little above average. I was spread so thin. I wanted to do everything, and I just lived my life and tried to do everything all at once.
Okay. And what were your some fondest childhood memories?
I think being together with the family around the dinner table, and holidays, and just being together all the time. We were very close.
So it was a close-knit family?
It was.
Did you have a favorite teacher in school?
Probably would say yes, Mrs. Hill in my 4th grade year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what did she contribute to your life in a certain way, or something that you special about the relationship with her?
But she was very insightful, and she was warm, but she was sort of a benevolent dictator type teacher, She made everybody abide by the rules, but she genuinely cared for everyone, and she would see through, kids manipulating, and she read everybody well. She was smart.
So you feel like you learned a lot from her?
I did learn a lot, not just intellectually, but about how to treat people, and how to, I think, see that some people are, you need to stay away from, and some people you need to gravitate towards people who have the same values that you have.
Sure. Tell me a little bit about your work history. What have you been doing through your career-wise? How did it develop?
I was a homemaker until I was 35, and I went through a divorce, and then I taught tennis for about 3 years, and then had a car accident, couldn't teach anymore, and got into finance, and I worked in banking and finance for many years until probably 2008. And then the economy went south, and I met a woman who needed someone to drive her. And after I went to work for her, I discovered that she was addicted to her painkillers. And that sparked a renewed interest in addiction.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue today with a lot of people being addicted to the opiates. And I hear a lot where people get like in a car accident and then they need the pain medicine, and that's how they usually a lot of people become addicted because of those kind of incidents. And so of those jobs, like, what was your favorite job?
Well, I owned my own business for 5 years. I was a mortgage broker, and I had a firm of my own. And I loved teaching people about personal finance. So teaching was a good thing, and counseling them on how to repair their credit was really fun. But and being my own boss was great. But I have a lot of relatives who suffer from addiction, and this field has really been something I wanted to do for a long time and just didn't have the courage to do. So in the last year I took a bold step at my age to get into it, and I've loved it. I really enjoy working in it.
And it sounds like you really enjoy like being independent, but also like really helping people and
Right.
sharing from your experiences and being there. And it probably comes from your family and being a close family.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and enjoying that support. Okay. And like in your current work, what kind of tasks do you have to do on a regular basis?
Well, I'm a counselor's assistant at Hanley, at the Hanley Center, which is a rehab center. And I started out the lowest level because I had no expertise in the field, and my favorite thing is just working with the patients. I prefer working in the evenings because the patients don't have things scheduled, and they come in and talk to you, and you learn a lot about addiction by just talking to them. And I think my favorite tasks are just probably just working with the patients.
Yeah, I can relate to that because I used to work in a mental health facility that was like a crisis unit, and we used to have what we call patio therapy. And yeah, being in the evening shift, people
Right.
tend to open up more. They're a
They
little more
do.
relaxed, not pressured to go to the groups and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can definitely relate to that. So where do you see your future going? Like, what do you hope to accomplish in the future?
Well, I'm hoping to get a master's in the field of psychology with an addiction track and marriage and family, and to do some counseling. I have a pretty good rapport with the patients when I speak with them, and they trust me. And I've found that they are all smart people, talented people. They care very deeply, sometimes so deeply that it's, they have a hard time dealing with the deep feelings that they have. But I enjoy being with those types of people because they're really wonderful people.
Does spirituality also contribute to your...
Yes, absolutely. The one thing I know for sure is in working the 12 steps is that if a patient does not embrace their higher power, we have to use that to be politically correct in the field. If they don't embrace their higher power, they have almost zero chance of getting into recovery. And I believe I'm blessed to know that, because there are a lot of people that fight it, and I think it's the most crucial thing in this field is getting them to realize that.
When you have a client that doesn't express like a lot of interest in spiritual things, how do you handle that?
I try to get them to realize that they weren't successful in doing this alone, and they weren't powerful enough to do it alone. And I ask them what they think it's going to take to get to the point where they can overcome the obstacles that they've had. And it's amazing to me the people that resist God, because He's around us all the time. And just to have them accept the simple things about a power that's bigger than they are, you know, is the first step for me. Like the beautiful sky, the moon at night, the sun, the flowers, the rain, all those things. And then if they can accept, you know, if there's something that's more intelligent than they are, or more powerful than they are, that's a start. And you know, there are no coincidences. You know, how did they get here?
And we call it coincidence when God performs a miracle and decides to remain anonymous.
That's a good thought. I'll remember that.